Good morning. This is the regularly scheduled Executive Committee meeting. The date is January 4th, 2020, first Executive Committee meeting of the year. My name is Jacob Fry. I'm the chair of this committee, and I'm joined by Council President Bender, Council Vice President Jenkins, Council Member Johnson. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum of this committee. There are 6 items on the agenda for today and then one closed session item. The first 3 are related to pay schedules for employees. While I don't, is there somebody presenting on this one today? Come on up. Welcome.
Good morning, Mayor Fry and members of the Executive Committee. I'm Rika Stenerson, Director of Total Compensation in Human Resources, and I'm here to talk about the appointed vacation plan. You should have in front of you a one-pager with the current appointed vacation schedule. The current schedule allows that appointed employees joining the city start out with 20 days of vacation time per year and do not move up into 21 days until their 16th year of employment with the city. This current plan is really not competitive in the market as it could be and has become a real barrier for us in recruiting top talent to the key leadership positions at the city. What we're proposing is that we maintain this current vacation schedule, but we allow flexibility to negotiate vacation upon appointed employees starting at the city, so that we could negotiate up to 26 days of vacation time per year rather than keeping everybody at the 20 when they start. Upon adoption of the new plan, and because we have many experienced appointed employees who are currently earning 20 days of vacation, HR would provide a window of opportunity within 60 days of the plan being adopted so that current appointed employees could submit documentation regarding their previous relevant work experience. As part of the plan, HR would then be able to review, approve, and implement the increases in vacation accrual up to 26 days per year. This current change does not affect the politically appointed vacation plan. We'd be looking at that separately, and if needed, making changes to that plan as well. We're just talking about the appointed vacation plan. On the reverse side of your one-pager, I have examples of how the appointed vacation plan would work with the change, and with your permission, I could walk through a few of those examples for you, if it would help clarify.
Please, thank you.
So the first example would be a current City of Minneapolis appointed employee. This employee has been with the city for 3 years in an appointed position and is accruing 20 days of vacation per year. This employee also had prior experience with another employer, Hennepin County in this example, 22 years. This employee in the current scenario started at the city with 20 days, even though at their previous role at a public employer they were earning 26. There was no ability for the city to negotiate that vacation time for this employee. So with this new plan, the employee would submit documentation during the window period. HR would review and determine that the work experience is relevant to the employee's current city job. HR would then approve to move this individual to 26 days of vacation per year because the employee has 21 plus years of service according to the current vacation plan schedule. The second example would be a new appointed employee candidate, so an external candidate interviewing at the city. The individual has 16 years of prior related experience in the private sector at a higher salary. The candidate also receives 25 days of PTO. This candidate could be offered 21 days of vacation initially because of their 16 years of experience. The city department head or appointing authority could also then negotiate additional vacation time as part of the recruitment. This would allow the candidate to move to up to 26 days of vacation to increase the viability of the city employment offer. A third example would be an external candidate as well with 25 years of related work experience in the field, accruing 26 days of vacation. The outcome would be the city staff has the ability to offer that individual 26 days vacation at the start of the employment. And the outcome would be the candidate would accept our offer. And then a final example would be a current appointed employee with 10 years of service at the city. This employee would be, as according to the schedule, still accruing 20 days per year, but this employee also had 12 years of prior work experience before joining the city. During the window of opportunity, the employee would be able to submit their documentation, HR would be able to review, and we would say 10 years plus the 12 years equals 22 years. And going back to the schedule, we would be able to approve 26 days. So the changes in the vacation would be implemented and effective with the new accrual rate once HR approves and then enters the new accrual rate into the system.
Thank you. So we presently delineate between sick time and vacation time right now. And are they able to negotiate, so they're, based on this proposal, they're able to negotiate more vacation time. Are they also able to negotiate more sick time, or that's totally separate?
Mayor Fry and members of the committee, that sick time is not negotiable. Everybody accrues at the same rate across the city, no matter what position.
Okay. Any further questions for Ms. Stenerson? Council Vice President.
Thank you, Mayor Bryant. And thank you, Ms. Stinson, for this work. I'm just curious, are we thinking about PTO, or is there a process to move us forward? I know it's a complicated subject and there's lots of different bargaining units, but I really feel like if we are gonna be in the 21st century, we need to try to come up with some kind of process to get that momentum started.
Mayor Fry, Councilmember Jenkins, yes, we have had many discussions, both internally and with labor partners, regarding potentially moving to PTO at some point. It is a very complex, and with our current system, we have challenges that would really prevent us from operating two dual systems at this point. I think there is a lot of interest in that topic, and I believe that it will continue to be explored. And yes, it does come up quite frequently. Many public employers still have the traditional sick and vacation benefits, but when we recruit people from the private sector who have PTO plans, that's another reason that we need this flexibility with the appointed vacation, so that we can have some ability to match what they currently would be getting as an experienced leader in their current roles.
Thank you.
Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think if I can summarize what I remember from these conversations, part of it is how do we transition in a way that supports our very long-term employees who may have accrued a lot of sick time, for example, without taking anything away from them, but then also treat new employees who'd be coming in fairly. So how do we transition? And then kind of as you referenced, not wanting to have some employees on a system where they have separate sick and PTO, and then new employees coming in, or sick and vacation, and then new employees coming in with just PTO. So kind of working out the details of how do we transition, knowing that there's many employees who've served for a long time under this current system versus bringing in new people. I don't know if you want to say anything more about that.
Mayor Fry, Vice Chair Bender, that's absolutely correct. There's multiple issues involved in that, making that kind of transition, including what to do with individuals with the high balances right now and how that would be handled. And as you know, probably from working with the county, they run dual systems still to this day and have had many, it's created a lot of additional work doing it that way, and we wouldn't choose to take that path, should we be able to move that direction in the future. But thank you for your questions.
To Council President's point, what would be the issue with grandfathering in employees that have already accrued significant sick time and then moving forward, going towards PTO?
Mayor Fry, members of the committee, I think it's something that we need to continue to study, but it would be the challenges of being able to run dual systems with.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
At some point.
Yeah, I think, I mean, at some point, we're going to have to bite the bullet and run two dual systems. Otherwise, we're going to be indefinitely on this, on a track where we're calculating both vacation and PTO, which seems to me to be cumbersome and burdensome as it is. I think it's probably deserves some more conversation. I'm not ready to kind of make any sort of motion here, but would my colleagues on the committee here be interested in maybe taking this up in a more comprehensive fashion in the following meeting? Council President?
Thank you, Mayor. I think through the executive committee, perhaps, Council Member Palmisano has been really involved in some of these issues. So maybe might benefit from waiting a cycle and just checking in with some of our colleagues who've had experience on this. And then I have no objection to adding it to an agenda, but would want to just check in with staff and colleagues maybe a little bit about the timing and the conversations that have happened so far.
I think that makes sense. So we'll check in with Councilmember Palmisano and anybody else who's been involved, and we'll go from there. Any further questions for Ms. Dennerson on item number 1? Thank you. I'll go ahead and move approval of item number 1, which is vacation leave benefits for appointed employees. Any discussion on this item? Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to voice my support for this. I think it's really important that we maintain competitiveness, especially at this level of executive or appointed employees, and appreciate you bringing this forward, knowing the context there's a lot more complexity to how we modernize all of our HR proceedings in a way that also, respects our relationships with our bargaining units and really involves the folks who are working for our city, especially those who've been here for a long time. So thanks for bringing forward with that balanced approach.
Council Vice President.
Oh, I'm sorry. I already asked my question.
Agreed, and thank you so much for your work. We really appreciate it. All those in approval, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no, and that item has passed. Item number 2 is 2020 non-represented employee schedule, and I believe Ms. Miller.
Mayor Fry and members of the committee, I'm Brenda Miller, the HR compensation analyst for the city. There are 2 compensation items before you today. The first is for non-represented employees, and we are requesting approval of a 2.35% increase to the salary schedule and longevity rates, as well as authorization for step progressions. The 2020 cost of moving the non-represented salary schedule is $610,600. As a refresher, non-represented employees are not part of any other bargaining unit, but they are represented, but they are covered by the civil service rules. Examples include the manager of accounting, 311 and 911 operations managers, contract administrator, and HR consultants. So those are kind of the jobs that are represented by the non-represented group. There are currently 283 non-represented employees with an annual total base salary expenditure of a little over $20 million. Our second request is for the politically appointed group. We are asking for approval of a 2.35% increase to the salary schedule and longevity rates, as well as authorization of step progressions. The 2020 cost of moving the politically appointed salary schedule is $66,800. Politically appointed people or employees are the people who work for all of you. There are currently 36 politically appointed, and this is a correction to the 39 that's stated in the RCA, with an annual total base salary expenditure of a little under $2.9 million. The increased amounts are consistent with what we are doing for represented employees. They're in line with the structure movements of other local government agencies, and finally, they're in line with the structure movement percentages of the last 2 years for these 2 groups. Both changes would be effective February 2nd of 2020. The total cost of the structure movement for these two groups would be $677.4 thousand, and this amount is already part of the 2020 city budget. So in conclusion, please approve an increase of 2.35% to the non-represented and politically appointed salary schedules effective February 2nd of 2020. Please authorize step progressions for non-represented and politically appointed employees subject to satisfactory or better performance effective February 2nd of 2020. And finally, please refer this matter to the City Council. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Miller? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and move approval of this item. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say, actually, just to be clear, this is moving approval for items number 2 and 3. All those in approval, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no, and items numbers 2 and 3 pass. Item number 4 is the reappointment of the Director of Regulatory Services, considering my nomination to reappoint Kim Keller to the appointed position for a 2-year term beginning January 2nd, 2020, and referring the appointment to the City Council for a public hearing. I'll go ahead and move approval of this item. Is there any discussion for the Director of Regulatory Services, Council Vice President?
Mayor Fry, I just want to state my intention to support this nomination, and Ms. Keller has been a very long time colleague of mine, as well as in the Department of Regulatory Services, and I think that her leadership, her exemplary leadership in this department is very well suited for the future. So thanks for this nomination.
Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to thank you for bringing this forward. And I had the chance to participate in discussion with Ms. Keller, one of the department head reviews. And I just wanted to note, in just the short time in leading this department, I think I've noted not only exemplary leadership there within the department moving, I think building support with staff, really working to support a department that's in transition through this budget change, really reassuring folks that we're working to bring the department the financial resources that it needs to be successful, along with, I think, guiding change in a department that is so integral in public facing in many, many aspects of our community's life. And I think most notably, really working to support the renter first policy that the council passed early last year, really bringing forward a very intentional change in how the department is working with our renter populations now make up more than half of our city's population, and just really appreciate the thoughtfulness and the strategic way that, Director, you're really guiding that department in collaboration with staff. And then second, wanted to note that I think Director Keller is really bringing a level of thoughtfulness to this role that I think is really going to become more and more an example for department heads across our city. And just the level, again, of strategy, of thoughtfulness, of just really sort of mapping out a detailed strategy for both change and the day-to-day pieces of a department that are so important. I just really appreciate your leadership in both of those places. I know you've stepped up to help, for example, be the first department head review to help us work out the kinks in that process, and wanted to note that even in the first little bit of stepping into a new leadership role within the department, you've gone above and beyond and really added that layer to the citywide piece as well, and I appreciate both.
I agree with the sentiment already stated when we moved to appoint you to this role following the vacation of the director position. You had clearly already risen in the ranks through the Regulatory Service Department and in the city as a whole, and there was great hope that you would make a wonderful director. And I think in the months since, both in interim as well as official, you have proved all of us right. So thank you for your work. Proud to move it forward. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no, and that item passes. The fifth item on the docket is the reappointment of the Commissioner of Health, the Director of the Health Department. Considering the nomination to reappoint Gretchen Musicant to the appointed position of Commissioner of Health for a 2-year term beginning January 2nd, 2020. I'm proud to move this nomination forward. Any discussion? Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to support this referral to the full council as well. And I don't serve on the committee anymore, so I have less day-to-day interaction, which I miss, actually. But there was so much interest in the council and serving on this committee that I was happy to support my colleagues in being there. I think Ms. Musicant is our longest-serving department head. I think we benefit greatly from that institutional knowledge and that collaboration with other departments. So I'm really excited that you're willing to stay in this role. I think this, as they all are, our departments are evolving. I'm so excited with the work that the new division, the Office of Violence Prevention, is doing, and really thank you for your support of that position. Like many things, that is a thing that is a body of work that both has citywide, it relies on citywide relationships. It's really an enterprise-wide function that's within one department. So your support of that work has been really meaningful, and I appreciate it.
Council Vice President.
Thank you, Mayor Fry. I too support the nomination of Ms. Musicant. I do serve on that committee, and it is a very active committee. Every meeting we hear about multiple programs and initiatives that really do have a broad impact across the city, including the group violence prevention work that is happening in the new department that I think is going to go a long ways in really helping to improve our response beyond just policing to help keep our communities safe. And so Ms. Musicant's leadership has really been exemplary in this area. And yeah, I didn't realize that she was the longest serving director, but I'm happy that she's going to continue with us.
Director Musicant, we really do appreciate your service and your work and your experience right now. Perhaps more than ever is really critical, as there is a lot of transition that's happening at the city, not specifically in director positions, but overall. And we really appreciate your know-how and your consistent initiative. You take a lot of initiative on both new and existing programs. And your willingness to do that while also finding efficiencies is appreciated. And I'm proud to move it forward. All those in approval, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. And that item passes. Next is the reappointment of the Director of Civil Rights, considering the nomination to reappoint Velma Corbel to the appointed position of Director of Civil Rights for a 2-year period beginning January 2nd, 2020. And I'm proud to move the nomination forward. Is there any discussion on this item? Up or down? Council Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I am also really thrilled to support this nomination. I think that the Civil Rights Department has a significant role in helping us to meet our equity goals in the city, and really just proud of Ms. Corbel's leadership in this area. We had an opportunity to talk about the new office building that is being constructed, and many of the goals that we have set for that project are being exceeded with women and people of color owned businesses, and that's the kind of work we like to see in the city. So happy to support the nomination.
Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, echoing the Vice President's words, I want to just thank you for bringing this forward. I think a similar theme. Director Corbel has really been leading a department through an expansion of their work. At the same time, I mean, it's not so long ago that the department was really quite behind in a lot of the basic functions of the department's, kind of core purview. And so under your leadership, I think we've seen a really extraordinary corner turning of not only getting those day-to-day functions running smoothly, eliminating that backlog of complaints that we had, as well as expanding the role, I think, of civilian oversight of our police department, certainly taking on significantly more work in enforcing our new labor standards laws, helping shape those laws, helping understand the enforcement of those new laws, which is earned safe and sick time, our minimum wage law, and now the new wage theft law, and doing so with actually very little additional staff. So it has, of course, I think, has meant that our existing staff have taken on more, needing support in that, and also, bringing forward the budget investments that we need to make sure that the department is supported in this expansion of work. So I appreciate the leadership in each of those places, in addition to what Council Vice President highlighted, and really working to meet our hiring goals, our spending goals, and our contracting goals. So thank you for all of that. Mr. Mayor, I just want to note, I'll just make a brief comment maybe after this on the next steps at Council, if that's okay with you.
I had the opportunity to see the backlog that was previously there firsthand as an attorney, and there's every incentive to bring a discrimination or civil rights complaint to the Department of Civil Rights at the city, because you get treble damages. You get, is that right? I believe you get 3 times the normal damages if you get a favorable reward. However, the significant backlog resulted in some cases, years before your client saw those monies, and in most cases, the client did not have years to wait. And so attorneys and clients alike chose alternative routes. Since then, Director has done an excellent job in reducing and I believe eliminating in some instances that backlog, which is a huge undertaking, all while having even more work propped on the shoulders of the Civil Rights Department in other forms, and specifically our workplace ordinances. And so we appreciate your work. We appreciate the effort, and I'm proud to move this appointment forward. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. And that item passes. Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for the benefit of the public, I wanted to just walk through inviting any assistance from the clerk's office that they wish to add. So each of these department head appointments goes through a process that first starts at the executive committee. As happened just now with these, as they pass through this committee, they're then forwarded to the full council for these 3 appointments that will happen this Friday on January 17th. The council will refer these appointments to their standing committees. For these, I think the standing committee, the proper committee, is pretty obvious, but I'll just state that for the Regulatory Services Director, that home committee is the EDRS committee, and for the Health Commissioner and Civil Rights Director, those are the Peace Committee as the home committee. So that would be the proper committees for each of these appointments for referral. Those at those standing committee meetings, the committee first acts to set the public hearing, and then the public hearing happens usually one cycle later after those hearings have been set. So folks have plenty of time to know when those hearings happen. And those are public hearings where members of the public can come and speak about the department's work. All members of the public are invited to attend and speak at those meetings. After that, the committees take action on the department head nominations. Those are then forwarded to the full city council for approval. If they go through the cycle as it would normally happen without any delay, each of these 3 department head nominations would end up at the city council on Friday, February 14th. So I am happy to answer any questions. I know the clerk is happy to answer any questions either now or for members of the public who might be listening or the press after this meeting is done.
Thank you, Council President. I wish we had another item on the open session agenda so that we could perform a little bit for our visitors here, but we do not. We're now in the process of adjourning to a closed session in room 315, right? 317. So we're going to adjourn to a closed session in room 317. Mr. Clerk, do I need a vote on that? No? All right. Thank you so much for your attendance and your participation.